Hello and welcome. So, throughout the entire day, we at Rajya Sabha Television have been bringing you all the updates and the analysis of the first budget of the second term of NDA government. Clearly, there are several talking points and we have brought the details for you. But there's one more thing exactly looking at as to what is the political message which the NDA government and specifically the Finance Minister and the Prime Minister has tried to send through the first budget of their second term. So let's talk about that aspect. And on this, I've got three distinguished guests with me. Let me first introduce these guests to you and then we'll try to analyze the political aspect of this budget. We have with us Ms. Aditi Fadnis, political editor of Business Standard. We also have with us Mr. Shahzad Poonawalla, a political analyst. And we have with us Mr. K. Badrinath, editor-in-chief of Financial Chronicle. Welcome, all of you. Let me begin with you, Shahzad. What, according to you, if you look at the entire budget, then is the political message? If not direct, then subtle maybe.
I think this budget can be categorized as a Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas budget. There is something in it for everybody, and I believe that it is a budget that is seeped in reality. And therefore, if you see some of the features of this budget, the goal of the Prime Minister is to take the Indian economy to $5 trillion in the next few years. 2014, we have reached, over the period of 65 years, we've reached about $1.8 trillion. And in the next 5 years, we added about $1 trillion. So it is not out of the scope that we will be able to reach the target of $5 trillion. And for that, certain steps are being taken. There's a massive push for investment. There's a massive push being done so that private investment increases. There's a push being done into infrastructure. 100 lakh crores is to be invested. And we are also seeing the allocations for agriculture. It is a historic rise in the allocations for agriculture. So I think that the focus of Gaon, Kisan and Garib is there. But at the same time, if you see for industry also, corporate tax rates have been reduced 25%. The middle class has got something. The tax rates have not been changed for them. They continue to enjoy no tax up to 5 lakh rupees. If you see, inflation has remained low over a period of time. So that is also a benefit to the middle class. So I think there is something for everybody in this budget. And it's a budget that shows that there is a steady head on steady shoulders.
Okay, so something for everybody in the budget. Mr. Badrinath, do you agree? One aspect, and second is that, that one line which Shahzad also mentioned, is that the underlying theme, Gaon, Garib or Kisan? That's village, the poor and the farmers.
Look, let's put it this way. It could be that my guess is underlying message could be the government's political belief that, or the social belief that Antyodaya, the last man in the queue, should get something or the other. Should be perhaps the political message that we were talking about. Second issue is, do every class has something for himself or herself? Well, I'm not sure about it for the simple reason that many, you might not have increased the taxes for the middle class, but you are not provided relief as well. So let's be very clear about it. If you think that, providing relief through, tax exemption because I bought a house under the affordable housing scheme, then that may not be the one which you would be looking.
Okay.
Instead,
With due difference, just 4 months ago, 5 lakh rupees
let him complete. Shahzad, I'll come to you. Let him complete.
Second is that maybe I'll be paying through my nose for petrol and diesel. Because you have increased the cess on the diesel as well as petrol.
But the Finance Minister has explained that, the government has that much elbow room as far as inflation is concerned.
No, inflation, yes. I completely agree with Madam Finance Minister that she has the elbow room. I'm not talking about the inflationary impact, the pinch on the pocket.
The pinch on the pocket.
Say for a two-wheeler rider, it's going to be even 100 rupees is going to be more.
Okay.
Simple. So my guess is, if yes, there are a lot of positives in the budget, but it's not that it's all honky-dory story that we might think about or write home about. So there could be issues where I know pinching points which need to be looked at or maybe need to be softened when the finance minister talks back and gives a reply to the budget proposals.
Okay. I'll come to Shehzad,
Just
and
want to
I know
add
you have
that
2 points,
food
but
inflation
let me
is at a
Shehzad,
low
let me bring in
consistently.
Aditi first here. One comment each initially, and then we'll go ahead and do the counter arguments as well. But Aditi, this aspect, both which Shehzad had pointed out and which Mr. Badrinath is talking about. In the first year of its second term, the government, the finance minister also needs to look at how, what shape economy is in, how she is to go ahead and plan for the next 5 years, and then, try and give to whatever sectors she can and try and strike that balance as well.
Well, there are some innovations which have been introduced which are great, like the money that the Indian government is going to raise abroad, the broadening of the bond market, general financial sector sort of tightening. But there's a cliched saying, there is no gain without pain. And this budget seems to impose no pain at all. So I can't understand where the gain is going to come from.
Okay.
You can't have a completely painless reform. And that is what causes a problem, because they have a fantastic majority. They've come to power after an absolute, I mean, the citizen of India, the ordinary person has put his complete faith in this government. Now, there are many things you can do with that kind of a verdict. You can say, okay, I'm going to lie back and enjoy it. I don't really need to work to enjoy it.
Okay.
Or you can say, I can use this verdict to make really painful decisions, take really painful decisions, which will have the effect of when you have a fever and you have to take a bitter medicine. It will have the effect of curing that fever.
Okay. So you're saying that government could have made it a little more push for the reforms in the first budget itself. Yes, Shehzad.
But I believe that reforms don't necessarily have to not have a human face. If reforms are done with a human face, and given the large population of poor people that we have in this country, we need to be mindful of the impact these reforms have on them.
Okay.
For instance, today there is a commitment that labor laws are going to be reformed, and they are going to be simplified into 4 simple codes. I disagree with Sir to the extent that the average inflation over the last 5 years has been less than the inflation in the preceding 5 years. In fact, we have not reached double-digit inflation at all. Headline inflation and food inflation has been low. So this amount of money has been saved by the middle class. Just few months ago, we have raised the tax slab to 5 lakhs. Nobody has to pay tax if you have an income till 5 lakh rupees. So these benefits have been passed on to the middle class. In fact, the interchangeability of PAN card and Aadhaar has also been announced today.
Okay.
So that is also something that will it will not be a relief, but it is something that is convenient to the middle class people. So we should and then incentives on buying electric cars, incentives on the affordable housing. So if you see a combined package, there is something given to the middle class. But now I feel that the focus had to be on pushing infrastructure growth, which has been done. 50 lakh crores is being given for modernization of railways. We have 100 lakh crores being invested in infrastructure. In the last 5 years, Modi government has created 73% more roads than UPA could ever. Jobs have been created in these sectors, and this is the place where jobs are going to come from. When you put in money for infrastructure creation, people have been saying that अरे jobs के बारे में कुछ नहीं बोला, but all the money that is going to go into infrastructure, that is going to create your jobs.
Okay.
And this is the story. It's a budget for new India, and the push towards startups, the push towards unleashing the entrepreneurial spirit. I believe that is a good sign. Of course, the visible sign of the finance minister junking the briefcase and going to the Bahi Khata is also a good sign, because it represents that the thinking has changed. No longer are we depending on government jobs. We are now saying that we want to empower the people of India to become entrepreneurs. And I think that today the direction is that.
Okay. Mr. Badrinath, these 2 aspects. One, what Shehzad is saying, and 2, this change in the thinking pattern, which Shahjad is pointing out. If you look at the way things have been done, and even this economic survey spoke about behavioral economics. The finance minister also spoke about. So if you look at segment-wise, for middle class, for example, what Shahjad pointed out, for women, for youth, so in that manner, if you're looking at for a political message, it will obviously have to be for those people who voted for this government to come to power.
That's precisely the issue. If the middle class has overtly voted for this government or this party, why is it that the middle class has not been given any direct relief at all?
But the finance minister says that this was given in the interim budget just 4 months ago, as far as rationalization of tax slabs is concerned.
But I have been also been taxed. I've been also taxed, sir. See, the point here is that it cannot be that both ways I will win. It is that the kind of aspiration that you have raised in this government, by this government, is huge. The kind of expectation is huge. So even if you have to meet 5 to 10%, you don't have the resources to do it. Simple. Second issue is because the demand on resources is too huge and too wide.
Okay.
You cannot spread it across too thin as well. So what is happening is that you are playing a very thin game, where neither here nor there. Say, for example, you are talking about 50 lakh crores and 100 lakh crores.
Okay.
Where is the money to do this?
So
We are talking too big, perhaps.
That exactly might be, but the entire exercise is to try and bring in more money. That's what the finance minister and the economic survey also and all others experts from the government have been saying, that let's bring in more private investments.
I'm not questioning the commitment or conviction or the intent of this government. But what I'm trying to say is your commitment and conviction will not match with what is the reality there.
Okay.
Simple.
Shahjad?
Well, I would only say that this government has made the commitment it has made, and it is keeping the fiscal deficit and revenue deficit targets. It is going to raise the money. Some of the money is going to come through PPP model. Infrastructure is not going to be only the government putting in the money. It is also going to come from private investment. Now, the point is that he's spoken about middle class. What is the definition of middle class? Today, 95 crore houses are going to be created by 2021. Today we are going to have 100% coverage of electricity and LPG connections. These are going to go to these people. These people are also entering from the BPL into the middle class.
Okay.
So we are not, the idea of middle class, only you and me. We are also part of the middle class, but there's a new middle class emerging from.
So expanding the ambit.
We are expanding the ambit, and for that a little bit of the pinch is going to come to the super rich people, and that's where the resources are coming. We have increased our direct tax collections. So I think overall the situation is that the government has made it very clear that it wants to expand the idea of what the middle class constitutes, and it wants to create job creators. It does not want to become a job giver.
Okay.
It is making job creators. So everyone is creating a job in this country.
Okay. You spoke about the commitments, and now we're looking at section wise. So Aditi, if you look at the promises which were there and the 5 years of work of this government in its first tenure, one sector which time and again the government's top leadership had been talking about is to go ahead and give a push to the agriculture sector. It's a recognized fact that yes, there is a farm distress. So there has been some effort which has been made in this budget to try and give a push to that sector. When we talk about zero budget farming, or we look at 10,000 farmer producer.
Zero budget farming doesn't mean anything. It really, zero budget farming is you do organic farming, you do that kind of, it's left to the farmer to decide.
Okay.
So farmers have been doing this for a long time. So zero budget farming is not, to my mind, the most important thing in what they have decided to do in agriculture. The issue, let's consider for a moment, just go back and consider what were the circumstances in which this government presented this budget or went for elections. The biggest problem was there was a slowdown. Nobody was consuming, there was no cash in the economy, people were going back to their villages.
And that was quite evident in the GDP figures of the last 2 quarters.
And employment figures also. So what has this budget done to correct all that? Now, if you have a headache, and you take a medicine for a pain in your foot, that's not going to solve the problem, right? So I think that the specific issues which India is facing today, a slowdown, consumption is down, everything is down basically, and that downward spiral. There was a debate when we went into this budget that there would be a stimulus, that the government would inject some kind of a package, which industry, it would be like in a basketball match, you throw the ball and then you take the ball and run. So industry would take the ball and run. Now, I am not seeing any signs of.
But there has been, a lot of leeway which has been given to the corporate sector. For example, the limit has been threshold has been increased from 250 crore to 400 crore. That brings in 99.3% of the corporates under the ambit of 25% tax. That was their primary demand.
But is it just 25% tax which is the problem, or is it all the other things that are a problem? No, I mean, obviously one budget can't fix all the problems that.
Yeah. So you'll have to be step by step.
So in that direction, now the banks were, they were riddled with these NPAs, and the NPAs have been reduced because of, and the banks are being recapitalized so that loans can be given. What is the problem of the industry? The industry is that there's a liquidity crisis. They are not being able to get loans. So with the recapitalization of banks and the NPAs coming down, they are getting lending again. Now, agriculture, I would just like to tell ma'am that 78% of the increase has been done. 1.39 lakh crore has been given for agriculture, and 75,000 crore is for the flagship scheme of the Prime Minister, the Kisan Samman Nidhi. So I think these schemes, I mean, we can ignore them, and it is easy to ignore them, but this is the mandate on which Mr. Modi has come back, and he has delivered on it. And in fact, even if you see for the small retailers, the pension scheme that has been started, it has been expanded to 3 crore now. So I think these are the schemes that social welfare measures are also being given, and somewhere that is going to go back and is going to increase the consumption also. It's going to be money in the pocket of the rural people, of the small person, and it's going to come back through rural demand and by increasing the demand.
Okay. Mr. Badrinath?
We were talking about the reduction in the corporate rates, and trying to make
bringing in more investments. Private investments is the key. That's what the focus.
What is
Economic
the effective
survey was,
rate?
you spoke about that.
What is the effective rate is more than 35%. If you take all the cesses and additional duties and things like that, it is 33 to 35%. See, just saying that, okay, my corporate tax rate has been reduced to 25% doesn't mean anything, sir. Please, because if you calculate all the other levies that are the imposts that have been there, it will cross 33% or 35%.
But, yeah, I understand. That's just one point. But creating an enabling environment is that's something which you will point out.
I do agree
that's
that
a gradual process.
I am not saying that it should not have been reduced. To say that it is 25% today and compares anywhere best of the world, no, it is not. It is wrong.
If you want to compare with Singapore,
it's a wrong signal.
It is not realistic. I understand that they are 15%, we are 25%. But we also, I mean, overall, if you see, it does not exceed 40% if you add all the taxes. So it's not that India is a highly taxed country even for the super rich. It's not that the super rich have it very difficult here. In fact, if we are just making them pay a little bit more because of the surcharge that is being put on the people earning more than 2 crores and 5 crores, I think we should be seeing that as something that they'll be able to take forward and bear the burden.
Okay, that's just one small aspect if you look at the larger scheme of things as well, and all of us know that that's part of the gradual process which began around 3-4 years ago with 50 crore being the limit. Then it was brought to 250. This is around 400 crore. Let's come to another aspect, social sectors, Aditi, and when you were speaking about how this government went into elections and what conditions and all that. The focus on the social sector was something which was evident during the last 5 years as well. And this budget also talks a lot about education and takes that, the reforms in the healthcare sector a step further. Small maybe, but one more step.
Yeah, I think it's quite small, and the glitches in medical insurance are yet to be settled. And there are a lot of glitches. So, but that is a matter of execution. You don't expect to find it in the budget. But education is, as far as I know, a concurrent subject. Now, how much the central government can push through education reform, and how all these, the Higher Education Commission and all that, how it's going to effectively take off and work, we are not very clear about. So
Okay.
I'd like to see the fine print before saying anything on
Okay,
this.
okay. Shahjad, on the social sector.
On the social sector, if you see the schemes that the Prime Minister has launched, whether it is about Ujjwala or whether it is Ayushman Bharat, these are good schemes and allocations have been made for them. But I think that in the health and education sector, we need a fundamentally different approach. I don't think that's an approach we can take just in the budget. I think the government is not able to provide health and education services to the quality that we want. And I have a very fundamental and radical approach where I feel that private sector should build the infrastructure for it, but the government should provide some kind of method by which the poor people can access that. Ayushman Bharat is an attempt towards that, and I don't think that's an approach that is limited only to a budgetary exercise.
Okay. Mr. Badrinath?
If you see the kind of education that is being provided by the private institutions, you would rather not have such institutions. Everything is commercialized, nothing works there, branding and only shosha.
But
So if
healthcare-
that is what we are looking at privatizing the education, it is not going to work
I'm
for
not
India,
saying
sir. I'm
privatize.
sorry.
Not the privatization
I'm not
of
talking about
education.
privatization of education.
Bringing in private sector to bring in, give that more
What
push.
I'm trying to say is, if the private institutions that are there here today are only branding themselves and aggressively marketing their courses, doing nothing to prepare the students for being ready to be inducted by the industry, if that is what is going to be happening, why do we want more private people to get into education?
if you look at the overall,
the truth is,
Education and
Badriji would
healthcare
neither-
should be aggressively in the government sector.
Badriji is saying this, but he would neither send his children to public to a government school, nor will he go to a government
well,
hospital. That's the point.
That's something, let's.
So why should we condemn our poor to only go to these things? I mean, I think we should give them the
that's a
opportunity
different
to go to
perspective
what
of looking
we
at
can
things.
access.
But Mr. Badrinath, if you look at the overall picture, and social sector is not only limited to health or education as well. When we talk about how the unorganized sector workers have been dealt with, how the retailers will now get the pension as well. So basically, expanding that ambit is what looks like the government has tried to do here. And let's not forget, this is the first budget. There are 4 more to come.
Yes, I do agree with that. But the point here is you're trying to expand your political base through some kind of SOPs. Is it what you're attempting?
95% of our
If
cities
this is
have
what you
become
are going, this is how you are going to
Let-
run the
let complete
economy,
say,
please. No, I don't think this is the right way to approach, development economics at all. No,
Okay.
we are talking about behavioral economics. What kind of are we parroting some theories just like that to say that I'm doing something good or different?
On a
What
day-
is it that we are doing?
on a day,
is
on a
what I
day-
want to understand.
Okay.
On a day
Shiva.
when the first full-time woman finance minister has presented the budget, Badriji should realize that, making our cities open defecation free with a toilet reaching every household almost, that empowerment
I would
for the
invite
woman.
him to see how many toilets are workable.
I agree. Nothing is. See, sir, nothing in this country is immediately going to happen and transform in 5 years. That expectation is unrealistic.
See, I understand.
But today we
Both
have
of you
made
agree and disagree
Swachh
with each other on
Bharat
several
now
points.
to Sudhar Bharat
But
is something we are moving towards,
see,
and we have made that approach where it's become a
one
household.
One common point, which all of us can understand, is that yes, there have been achievements which have been, there are achievements as far as this
Absolutely.
government is concerned, and there are, scope for improvement as well in several places. But now we're looking at the holistic picture. The budget has been presented. There are several sectors which have been spoken about, and we are trying to find out as to what exactly is the underlying message. So, Aditi, if you're looking at the underlying message here, concluding comment from you as to what exactly is the government trying to convey in its first budget in the second term.
The government is clearly trying to convey to the last man standing that there is a government and it's there for you. But unfortunately, cliches don't always work. If you want the last man standing, according to me, the worst thing that can happen to any human being is to do manual scavenging. Now, the finance minister has observed how terrible this practice is and how there are ways to fix it. But specific ways, disincentives against manual scavenging, incentives to create mechanical solutions which will replace manual scavenging, I didn't find any incentives there.
Okay.
So if you just tie everything up in pretty phrases, the problem will not go away. You need to punish people who engage manual scavengers. You need to find alternative jobs for them. You need to have a whole program, and it has to be spelled out step by step.
Okay, maybe we'll see the government moving ahead on that aspect as well. And that's quite an important aspect which Aditi brought out. Mr. Badrinath, your perspective of that underlying message in this budget.
See, the government has a commitment, conviction, and the intent to do it. But maybe they are going somewhere wrong in putting things together, talking too big, delivering very little. My guess is maybe because the expectations that have been raised is too huge and high.
Okay, Shahzad?
I think the underlying message is that this is a budget for a new India, but that new India is not going to happen in 1 year's time. It is going to take a period of 5 to 10 years, and therefore the first few steady steps have been taken in this budget. But it is also clear that it is not just going to be the budget through which reforms are going to happen, and therefore you will have to see more steps being taken over the course of the next few years, and that the government has shown that it has a commitment to bite the bullet. If the last government was about taking all the, if we have passed GST, it was the biggest economic
There were
reform.
big ticket reforms last 5
So
years.
it was done last time also, and it was not very convenient for Mr. Modi to have done that. If they have taken some tough decisions back then, he has a bigger mandate, he's mindful of that, and New India is on the horizon.
Okay, clearly. So as our panelists are pointing out, the intent of the government and the commitment of the government is pretty much clear here to try and bring everybody into that ambit, look at the last person in the line as well. But as some of our panelists are also pointing out, there is a scope for improvement, which is always there when you speak about policies or when you look at, the work being done by the government. So let's wait and watch as to what this new government does, not only throughout this year, but in the next 4 budgets and in this entire 5-year tenure. We'll come back again with more on this budget and other news as well. Keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.